Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Great, excellent. Well, everybody, thank you so much, and Karen, thanks so much for having us, be able to present for SSATB today. So, as Karen said, my name is Mike Barkley. I am the assistant head at Quest Montessori School. Next year, I'll be fortunate enough to be the head of school at Quest, which I'm really psyched about. But until then, right now, my main job at Quest is really dealing with a lot of the enrollment management issues. I came to Quest in June of 2011, and Quest, before I really start, to give you some kind of context, Quest is a really small school. It's one of those schools that is a startup school. It's been around for 12 years now, but it was started by a group of passionate parents who love Montessori, and they were at a Montessori school that only went up to second grade. So they decided at the time to get together and create a Montessori school that went all the way up to 8th grade. So you can see on this first slide, this is a little bit of the history of Quest Montessori. In 2002 to 2005, their enrollment always kind of ebbed and flowed, and they did really a lot of just the traditional things from an enrollment perspective as a group of parents, and kind of knowing what they were doing, but not necessarily knowing what they were doing. But ultimately, when I started at Quest, we had 56 students starting in 2011, and we also added a preschool that year. But by the end of the year, we had 40 students after attrition. So in June of 2012, we ended that year with 40 students. So we obviously had enrollment challenges as we were moving from one location to the next location in search of a permanent building. So you can see this is this kind of the story and the timeline of Quest. This past year, we actually just moved into a brand new facility that we've been working on trying to build for the last 12 years. So I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. But so with Quest and their enrollment, one of the things about this presentation, when I ran it through my wife the first time, she said it was pretty good, but if I don't leave everybody who's listening with 3 good nuggets of advice, it will actually be a colossal waste of your time. So throughout the presentation, you're going to see these little gold nuggets pop up, and those are really the hallmarks of the presentation that either, if you have a pen, you might want to write it down, or when you come back, or if you come back to the presentation, you can just go to the nugget page, and you'll see the really valuable information. So Quest Montessori School, like a lot of small independent schools, was just doing the traditional admissions marketing. We were having open houses. We were using print advertising. We were word of mouth. We were networking with feeder schools, but things weren't really working for Quest over over an 8-year period. They hardly had anybody ever show up to the open houses. They had a terrible location for the school. So when I came into the job, we had to start thinking about things differently. And the way we start to do that, we start to have a lot of conversations, myself and my head of school. But you can see, if you go back here, hold on one second, let me move my control panel. Quest had 55 inquiries between September 2010 and January 2011, and it really wasn't working out well for the school. They weren't getting any kind of enrollment jumps. The enrollment was really static, and it was just kind of a few siblings here and there. So from that, we decided to think about things differently. And in thinking about things differently, we ultimately, within a year, were able to double our inquiries. From 2011 to 2012, we had 124 inquiries. And then you can see, at the end of last year, we had 232 inquiries. So we've done really well. We went from 205 in 2011 and 2012, the end of the year, to 232. And the way we did that was we first looked at our website. Second, looking at our website forced us to look at how we advertise. And the final part of that was we decided to improve electronic communication on all fronts with current and prospective families. And the way we started that was, my head of school and I sat down, and we started to figure out, okay, here we are, a small school. I didn't know much about technology. My head didn't know much about technology. We didn't have a lot of money to spend, so we started asking around with our current parent body to see what people in our community had some experience with technology. We looked at our enrollment plan, and we decided to mirror that enrollment plan and our marketing plan together, and then we started going from there. We had a big whiteboarding session one time, my boss and I, and this is what was the end result of the whiteboarding session. We took that admissions funnel, and we looked at it from a marketing perspective. And for today's purposes, we're going to talk about this whole inquiry and the building brand awareness and how that impacted our enrollment and how that actually impacted our website and our website initiatives. Particularly this group up here, online social marketing, the website, the video blogs, Google and SEO and SEM. When I first started investigating all these things, I heard a lot of things about SEO and SEM, and I had no idea what those acronyms mean or meant. And if you're saying to yourself, I have no idea what those acronyms mean, that's okay, because you're going to find out shortly. And as I start to talk here, I just want to preface that I'm not an expert, and hopefully a lot of people listening aren't experts as well, because the information that you're about to see, you don't have to be an expert to understand it or know it, because you'll pick it up pretty quickly, and you can implement it pretty quickly into your admissions process. So looking at Quest, when we first came, the website of Quest was pretty terrible. It was basically based on our letterhead, if you could believe it or not. It was static, and it was just a clear page that looked like this. It had these tabs over here on the side. This is a copy of our letterhead, our old letterhead, that had these tabs over on the side that would pop out. There was no there was no kind of interactiveness to it. It was absolutely boring. The hardest part about it, we couldn't update it by ourselves. We had to go through a third party, a web designer, to update it, so we can never put new pictures on it. There were no tracking tools on it. There was no SEO built into it, and SEO stands for search engine optimization. SEM, search engine marketing, was not being utilized on it. And the website wasn't designed to be found. It was just designed as an information tool. And I think that's the first thing. If you're a small school, you need to have a website that's designed to be found versus just having information, hopefully, and hoping that people are going to find you via your website. Because the one thing that we've found over the years that people are finding us via our website, and with word of mouth also in there, but really people are doing searches. And if you don't have a website that's designed to be found in a search process, you need to reconsider that. So search engine optimization. When we looked at the old Quest website, we didn't have a lot of money, and I found a web designer after talking to some people who was a really good rate. He charges us $25 to $30 an hour, and he said, Mike, one of the things, if you don't want a website, if you don't want to update your website, you don't have the money to update your website, why don't we look at the website you have and let's update it for SEO? And basically what that means is that in your website you can have keywords, and you can put these things called meta tags into your website that hopefully, if people are out there searching, it helps help your website get found more. So we invested $330 into our old website to see if we could update it with having more keywords. With the more time you say preschool on your website, the more likely it's to be found. So we added the words, those keyword searches into our website. And we started looking at SEM, search engine marketing, and that's the idea of using Google AdWords and things like that. But we spent $330 trying to update an old website, and we really didn't find a lot of use in that. So my boss and I kept talking, and one day I said to him, I said, we really need to do we need to overhaul our website. I don't know if we can afford it, but let me do some investigating. So I talked to our web designer, and he just said, well, what do you think you could spend? Told him what we thought we could spend, and he said, well, I think we can work within your budget. Now, I'm specifically not telling you what we spent because I think that's one of my golden nuggets, because anybody on a short budget can update your website if you find the right people to do it. So if we were going to design the perfect website, what would it be based on what we had? So we decided that it would have to be designed with SEO in mind, search engine optimization, so people who are out there looking for the website could find it. It would be interactive with video, social media, and valuable content. So when people are coming to our website, they would want to stay for a while and see what our school is all about. A site we can manipulate whenever we want, and I can't tell you how big this is. Having an old site where we couldn't even add pictures to it, or we would try to get a designer who was a young kid who really didn't have any time for us, and it would be a lump sum amount of money for him to go in and put new pictures in, and we'd have to wait for him to put pictures in and update content, which is completely a headache. We'd want a site that speaks to where the school is going, not to where it has been. So something that was exciting and looked fresh and new, and ultimately had analytics built into the site to track prospective interest. And I'm going to talk a lot about analytics in a little bit. And a site that parents want to spend time on. So that was what we wanted to create in a new website. So this was a really great opportunity for us because as a faculty, we sat down and I started engaging the faculty in the conversation. What do you want your website to look like? And our web designer put together 3 templates for us that I'm going to show you in a second. But in basically those templates, I gave him a whole bunch of ideas about different schools' websites that I liked, and he put something together for us. And this was the first template that he put together for us. One day I had these all up on a screen for our faculty to see. This was the second template that our web designer put together for us. And this was the third template. And if you've been to our website since then, you'll know that we ultimately ended up on design option 2. And this website has been absolutely fabulous to us. So now, the 2 most important aspects of our new website at Quest, that it was designed in WordPress. And WordPress is a free online platform that you can design websites with. So it didn't cost the school anything for our designer to use WordPress to design our website. And it had Google Analytics tied into it. And Google Analytics is just the most valuable thing, I think, as an admissions person you can possibly ever utilize to find out where your inquiries are coming from and who the people are who are looking at your school. So again, what you need to know about WordPress, if you've never heard of WordPress, you don't know anything about WordPress, that it's super easy to use, it's absolutely free, and you can edit it whenever you want. And meaning you, the admissions person, if you're at a small school and you're kind of the jack of all trades and wearing many hats, and your head says, hey, we have some old content out on the website, can you fix it up for us? You can go right into WordPress and not know anything really about it and start making those changes pretty quickly. This is what WordPress looks like on the back end, and you can see over here, these are all just tabs. So if you went into WordPress, you just click on, that's the home page. You click on the home page, it opens up, and then there's other tabs that come up and say edit, quick edit, and it takes you right into the content that you need to edit. You delete it, and it's so easy that even us non-tech people look at it and can figure it out. So, again, this is one of those things when we start talking about designing a website, our overall budget for the school year is $13,000. Quest, again, has only been around since 2002, and we're a school that's building and kind of always changing. But this is a slide I found from 2007 for Whipple Hill. I used to work at the Moses Brown School, and at MB they use Whipple Hill for their website. Their whole website package. But here you can see down here that to do a Whipple Hill web update, at the minimum $15,000. To do a whole redesign, and it's $22,000 to $27,000, and this is in 2007. So I think a lot of us have this misconception is there's no way you can really afford a whole entire web design and have some of these cool bells and whistles into your website like Google Analytics and have it so that you can do the changing whenever you need to. In January 2013, I called a buddy of mine who is head of school down in D.C., and I just out of curiosity, I wanted to know what his budget was for admissions and marketing. And what Joe shared with me was, my buddy Joe said, he had $260,000 for his budget for marketing, and that included a full-time staff person there, a new web design. And I asked him about how much he was budgeting for his new web design. he said to me he was budgeting $20K to build and about $8,000 a year to maintain the website. My boss and I saw these numbers, and I think our heads exploded, and we just started laughing because we couldn't believe that one school could have that kind of budget. And again, obviously they do, but our school is so small that to us it seemed, only something you could dream for. And Joe also said that, he spent $20,000 in print advertising. One thing I think, hopefully at the end of this, you'll realize that, if you have a small budget, my suggestion would be to put a lot of that money into online advertising, because even as I'm talking with my buddy Joe, who's from the DC area, he said that they get much more bang for their buck online versus print, and they're just doing print because everybody else is still doing print. So here is your first nugget of advice. At this point, I would say that if I saw you all live, I'd say, can you guess how much it costs us to do our whole website update? When I did this presentation at NAIS, I had people say, $5,000, $3,000, $10,000, $12,000, but ultimately the cost of our website overhaul was $586. So hopefully I just blew all your minds, and you're thinking, oh, how could he possibly do that? And my words of advice to you would be that any small school can do a website overhaul like we did, and it's just a matter of finding the right people in your school community or the right web designer to help you do that. And if you have some of this information and some of this language to say, hey, we really want to be able to design a website that's in WordPress, we want to be able to design a website that has Google Analytics in it, this is what we're willing to pay, per hour, what can you do for us? And hopefully you could be able to pull off something like we did. And this website, for $586, you're going to see in the next part of the presentation that is the best money that we could ever have spent. So next, analytics, advertising, and a world of online possibilities. So Google Analytics, here's a little cartoon that you can read later, just kind of explains what Google Analytics is a little bit. But ultimately, analytics, if you are a stats person, you could spend days and days and days on Google Analytics, because it will tell you how your website is performing. It will tell you if you are exciting, or in the cartoon here, if you're boring. It will tell you everything that you need to know about the people who are looking at your school, where they're looking from, and how long they're spending on your website, and the paths that they're going to get to your website. So again, this is what Google Analytics is all about. Who's visiting your website, where they're coming from, how are they getting there, and does online advertising really work? So this is what Google Analytics looks like from the back end. Google Analytics, and again, there's a lot of stuff on here. If you've never seen or heard of some of these things, that's okay, because I hadn't heard about them before I really started playing around with analytics. There's two types of search out there. There's organic versus paid search, and you can see right down here, organic search would be people who are finding you online just naturally. Someone who goes in and types in preschools, or for us, it'd be Quest Montessori, because they're interesting and they kind of come to our website without any tweaking by us to get them there. Paid is when you're using things like Google AdWords or Facebook, or you have paid advertising out there that people actually click on those ads and then they visit your website. So for us here, this is the month before our open house. Back in November of 2012, and you can see here, the month before our open house, we had 897 visits to our website. And now this is a school, remember, that only had 55 inquiries the year before as of February. And here we had 897 eyes come to our website. Those people who came to our website, they saw 2.79 pages. They spent an average of 2 minutes and 47 seconds on our website. And new visitors, the percentage of new people who came to our website was 60.31, and we had a bounce rate of 53.51. And bounce rate is the amount of time that someone spends on your website before they bounce off to the next one. And you can see right down here, A bounce rate above 70 is bad. Anything below 30 is equally bad because that says no one is finding your site organically. Typically, you want to aim for something between 35 and 55. So, from an analytics perspective, we're doing pretty well. You can see here, this is the next page. This is actually probably one of the most important pages I want to talk about. So what prospective families are searching for to find quests and the traffic sources. So here, analytics tells you that content targeting, this is things like Google AdWords. So if somebody is using, finding you through paid advertising, that's what that would be. Not provided. If somebody is a Google user, it's like you have a Gmail account, if you're signed in to Google in any way, Google doesn't give you that information, so it says not provided as far as who those people are. But you can see we had 144 people who visited us through AdWords, 135 people who are Google users that came to see us. 104 people found the school by using the keyword, Quest Montessori School. Now this is the most important one, private schools and RI. This is 66 people found Quest Montessori by searching for private schools in Rhode Island. If you go down here, 13 people found us through searching for RI preschools and 13 other for RI preschools with an S. So what that's telling us that, here it is, that's proof that we've designed this website that's not just about information. That's a website that's designed to be found. Because if, again, coming back to this idea that, the year before, the school only had 55 inquiries, from an admissions perspective, here we can already see that we've far exceeded that with the 66 people who just found us through searching for private schools in Rhode Island, which is just invaluable information for you to take to your board, to your head of school, to the rest of your admissions team to say, hey, look at what we're doing is actually working. So just something to think about as you are thinking about how you advertise to get those inquiries in the door. This is telling us where some of those other searches are coming. The last page was about keyword searches. This is telling us where the searches are coming from, so what other websites. So you can see here 96 people found us through Facebook. We advertise on a website called RI Living. It's the big Rhode Island real estate website. So you can see that we had 28 people visit our website through RI Living. 16 people found us through Google, 10 through Pinterest. Excuse me. Narragansett Patch. The Patch is a local online newspaper that we also advertise through. 7 people found us through the Patch. Private school reviews. I'm sure some of you probably do this, but if you don't, once a year we send out an email to all our current families just to say, hey, if you have people will say how much they love the school, and we'll send out an email and say, hey, if you have wonderful things to say about the school, here are some websites that you can write reviews about the school. And because a lot of prospective families go to private school reviews or greatschools.com to hear about your experiences, or even on Google they have a review piece. So 5 people found the school through private school reviews. Kiddo Info is another place where we advertise. North Kingstown Patch is another Patch website that we advertise on, but we can see that our advertising dollars, particularly RI Living and the Patch, are really working well for us and driving people to our website. This is the part of Google Analytics that really will blow your mind. You can, from a geographic perspective, you can see exactly where people are visiting your website from. This is, we're going to move from the general to the specific. So this is just a map of the United States, and obviously, we had 1,212 visits from people in the U.S. But breaking that down, you just would click on your state, and then that would take you even further into the analytics. So here in Rhode Island, obviously we're a school in Rhode Island, so we had 751 people visit us, visit the website from Rhode Island, 128 from Massachusetts, 48 from Connecticut. Now, going even further, this is a map of Rhode Island. You can see all our hot spots here. At the time we were in Wakefield, and you can see 191. We had 191 visits from people in Wakefield. So from an advertising perspective, to make sure that your dollars are working really well for you, you can see the audiences where you're pulling from, and the kind of people, the people who are looking at your website and where they're coming from, and knowing that is your advertising working or is it not working? And again, up here, 751 visits in total. Page visits was 3.01 pages. These people were spending an average of 3 minutes on the website, and new visits to the site were 48%. So two types of online advertising. I said before, there's unpaid and paid. So unpaid would be things like Facebook, blogs, website content, online calendars. Paid would be AdWords, Facebook's, any kind of paid listings. And from an advertising perspective, obviously, I think at Quest we would love to get away from the paid advertising. The bigger the school you are, the bigger website you will have, probably the less you have to spend money on, because the bigger your website is, the easier it can be found because it has more pages online for people to find you. But as a little guy, sometimes using those paid AdWords campaigns helps kind of bumps you up on searches when people are looking for schools online. But there's a lot of great online tools, and I'm sure a lot of you already probably do this from an unpaid perspective of just when you have open houses, listing your open house on all the online calendars that might be available to your town or in your area. There's groups called the meetup groups. We have local mom groups that have their own website that you can also advertise on for free. But there's a lot of resources to get your open house information out there. But again, when people are doing searches, the more you can get out there online about what's happening at your school, the more likely you are to be found. So this is Google AdWords. Actually, no, I'm sorry. This is still analytics, and this is a page about organic versus paid results. And again, as you can see here, we had 572 organic results, which is great, and 330 paid results during this time before our open house in November, between October 16th and November 15th. And ultimately, I think we'd like to get our dependency away from paid advertising, but it's just so easy and works so effectively. It's a little addicting, to be honest with you. Google AdWords, one of the things that people don't understand is that when you use AdWords, they treat you like royalty. If you've never used AdWords, all you have to do, you can sign up for Google AdWords for free through Google. Once you sign up, you can shoot them an email, and they will have a Google AdWords specialist call you back. It doesn't cost you anything other than your AdWords dollars that you're spending. When you're using Google AdWords, you are only getting charged for the times that people are clicking on your ad. So if you're on a really tight budget, you can determine how much you want to pay per ad, how often the ad is going to get seen. Once you go out of your budget, the ad will just disappear. So you can really kind of dictate how much you're going to spend based on what your budget is, and you get a specialist that will help you tweak your campaign to make it as effective as possible. Here you can see this is the month prior to one of our fall open houses. We had 352 clicks. Impressions are the amount of time that your screen is popping up in front of somebody. So here we had 239,904 impressions during this time, and a click-through rate of 0.15. Anything above 0.01 is great, and 0.15 is a strong click-through rate. And the average cost per click for us was $1.33. So total cost in this month, it cost us $467 for an AdWords campaign that totally paid for itself in every way, shape, or form. And you can see these are all the keywords that people were finding us through the AdWords campaign. Again, private schools in Rhode Island, Montessori RI preschools. But if somebody is looking at other schools in your area or some of your competition, and they're punching in these same keywords, and you're doing an AdWords campaign, if they're not doing the AdWords campaign, you will come up at the top of their search results. It'll be in that little highlighted bar, and it'll say this is an ad, but it'll have when we do it, we have all our open house information right there, and then typically then that's when people click on us because they're the first thing that people see. So from an AdWords perspective, you can really be specific about your targeting of the AdWords campaign. For down here, you can see, we did 15 miles around the Fall River, Mass area, 18 miles around Norwich, Connecticut, all over Rhode Island, and you can really be, from a geographic perspective, you can really hone in on the area that you're trying to market to for your enrollment base. This is a Facebook slide. some of you might use Facebook advertising. We don't. It was one of those things. What I found with Facebook is that with Facebook, it's you're searching for people versus Google AdWords. People are searching for you. And for us, just a funny story is that when I punched in our geographic regions for Facebook, I was way too broad, and we had people in Texas liking us. And every time you have someone in Texas like you and you're doing a Facebook ad campaign, it costs you money. So be really careful about when you do set up your Facebook campaign, that you set your parameters to your local area. You're going to be paying for likes for people across the world. But again, some people might find Facebook advertising helpful. We found AdWords to be much more useful because it's that sense of people are searching for you versus you searching for them with a Facebook advertising. And not to say Facebook hasn't worked really well for us in other aspects, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So here is your second nugget of advice. So the reach of online advertising far exceeds anything you can do in print, plus it's measurable. And again, for you as an admissions director for your department, to be able to go back to your head of school and give him all the analytics for a board meeting, or for you to be able to sit down and say to him, like, this is what we're doing and this is how it's working, it's invaluable. It's such a great tool to be able to have that knowledge behind your enrollment stats versus if you're doing some kind of print ad that may have a subscription base of 30,000 people. You don't know how many of those 30,000 people are actually going to see your ad. But here, you know your money is really working for you. And analytics on our website cost is absolutely nothing during the website overhaul. Online advertising costs for the year for us were about $6,000. Our print costs were $3,800 or so, and this has since gone down. We spend more on online advertising now than we do print, and the print costs keep going down each year because we're just not finding it as useful. And the total was less than $10,000 for our advertising budget. So here, we have a budget of $13,000. $10,000 of it was spent in advertising, and the other $538 what we spent on our website overall. We've done really well for ourselves so far. So now we have our website updated. Our online advertising is really strong. The final piece of the puzzle for us was needed, and that was really improving communication. And this is something we can all do, and it's really easy to do it. And for us, improving communication meant email marketing improvements across the board, social media updates more regularly, blog posts by teachers more frequently. If you, I'm sure you all probably everybody uses email on a daily basis. One of the things that we looked at was how we were using email and how we could utilize email from an enrollment management perspective. And what we started to do on a regular basis, open house email updates. Anytime anybody comes in our school, and this, just everybody does this automatically, you capture that prospective person's email. Then they go into our overall database. So then when we are rolling into an open house, we have timed emails that go out on a regular basis to everybody, our current families, prospective families, to let them know, hey, we're getting close to the open house. We can't wait to see you there. Generating that word of mouth with our current families to get friends of theirs at the open house. It's a great place for database storage to be able to go back to. Faculty outreach. Our faculty. Obviously you're communicating with your faculty on a daily basis, but having the email knowledge of knowing that you can open those emails and see when people are opening those emails, if they're actually getting them, and how they're looking at them, or if they're deleting them. You can tell all that information based on your email provider. We do bi-monthly newsletters to current and prospective families, and then it's a great opportunity for list and brand and branding. So best aspects about email marketing. Again, every email sent can be tracked. We use eye contact. And eye contact's really useful because you can go in and see, again, who's opening the emails, if they're being utilize in a way that's effective for your enrollment. So finally, social networks and how it helps your search engine optimization. For a lot of us, when I first came to the position at Quest, I was a casual Facebook person in the sense that, using it personally now and then, but not a big fan of Facebook. I've become a big fan of Facebook for professional use because it has really helped us connect with our current families. And in helping connect with our current families, that has also spread into connecting with prospective families. For example, every year our 6th graders plan and organize a trip to New York City. Prior to 2012, nobody knew what that trip ever looked like. They would just go, the teachers would check back in, say the trip is going great, and then they would come back in May. At the end of the trip, a week or so later, the parents would see a slideshow about how the trip was. I was able to go on the trip my first year at Quest, and I took my smartphone with me, and I started Facebooking the entire trip. I was constantly putting pictures up on the website, and here you can see some of the pictures from the trips. Our parents went absolutely crazy for it. And since then, when our teachers go off on field trips, we Facebook, and it just drives so much traffic to our website. And then they start telling friends of theirs, oh my gosh, you have to see my kid in New York City, or you have to see them on the high altitude ropes course that we went to Camp Hazen. It really it just drives so much traffic to your website, and it doesn't cost you a thing to do, and it's so easy that you can do it right from your phone. And it's a great way to track how current and prospective families are learning about your school and seeing what's going on a daily basis. One of the other things, if you can convince your teachers to blog and get everybody at your school blogging, especially if you're a small school, the more blogs your faculty create, the more websites they create, because what happens when you blog, it creates internal web pages within a small website. So again, you have these big schools that have a whole bunch of websites. If you are a small school and you get your teachers blogging, it creates a lot more web pages for you, and again, another way for you to be found when people are doing a search for you, and it doesn't cost the school a thing. It just takes time and energy. So here is your last nugget. Social media and blogging are free. Anyone can do it. Strategic email marketing initiatives via eye contact only cost the school $14 per month. Now, so the big question is, I started this by saying, so how many students are currently enrolled at Quest? If you remember, Quest started in 2011 with 56 students. We ended the 2011-2000 school year with 40 students because of attrition and moves and graduation. We ended 2012-13 school year with 82 students, so we doubled within a year. And currently, Quest has 115 students. We're actually at 118 students right now. So we've done really well from an enrollment management perspective, and couldn't be happier with how our website overhaul and adding analytics and advertising, how all those things have impacted our website. So with that said, what kind of questions can I answer for everybody, with the preface that I'm not an expert, and hopefully everybody who watches, you didn't have any knowledge of any of this stuff beforehand, and now maybe have a little bit of the terminology and the lingo to be able to go back to your head of school and say, hey, we need to redesign our website in WordPress, and we can do it on the cheap, even though I know we don't have a big budget, but we can make things happen, and you can use these slides to help guide them through the process. So anyhow.
Michael, thank you.
Karen, you there?
Yep, I'm right here, and we do have some questions coming in.
Okay.
Erlyn is asking, how do you deal with media release for social media? She says she likes the idea of posting photos on Facebook, but many of the parents have said no photos on the media consent form.
Yeah, we do the same thing. We have a consent form that goes out in the beginning of our school year, and if parents want to opt out of that, we know who those kids are. So it's just it's something that I kind of keep with me, and I have a mental note of what kids I can take pictures of and what kids I can't take pictures of. So it's just one of those things that we just kind of manage and steer around. but yeah, it's for us. It's a really small list, and yeah, some of those parents who have expressed concern, when they know the way we're using them and knowing that there's no names attached to any of the kids, they've come around. But we still have a few families that are reluctant to do that, and that's fine, totally fine.
Okay, thank you. Haley is asking, our teachers who blog use all their own WordPress accounts. We have a school blog on WordPress, but is there any way to link all of them together to, as you said, drive more traffic to our website?
That's a really good question, Haley. I would have to ask my web designer that. I imagine there's probably a way to link them together, because they're all part of, it's all part of the website, so when people are doing searches for our teachers' blogs, ultimately they're ending up on our website. So, I can certainly, if you want to shoot me an email, I can ask my web designer that question directly and get you some information about that. But I would imagine there are, and this is one of those things, again, you have to remember, I'm an admissions person or a school guy who's learned a lot about technology, but definitely not a technology guy. But I can certainly do some investigating for you to try to find out. But I would imagine there's a way to probably link them all together, and I can do some research for you.
Okay. The next question is, do you check what teachers are blogging before they post?
No, actually we don't. I think my head of school and I, we check those blogs on a regular basis, but our teachers, we're pretty clear with them. They know it's content-based. It's about the class. It's about the curriculum of the class, what's going on, and they all get that. So we aren't checking them on a regular basis. So no, yeah, we don't.
Okay. Joyce is asking, how do teachers post to your Facebook page?
Teachers, everybody, you can sign up all your teachers as Facebook account managers. So one of our teachers, for example, when they go on a field trip, we just sign them up as an account manager. So then, and then they download an app that they have right on their phone to be an account manager. Or, once they like our Facebook page, then they can post right to it, either as an account manager or as someone who likes the page. So it's really easy to do.
Yes, I know there are settings that you can adjust on Facebook to allow outside postings to your page.
Yep.
The next question is, what's your opinion on constant contact as a marketing tool? Many schools use it, we do. How does it compare to WordPress as a marketing and communication tool?
Yeah, we used to use constant contact, and then we switched to eye contact. I think it's all a matter of choice. For us, WordPress, we have the website design in WordPress, and and I guess that would be ultimately the biggest marketing tool we have, because it just drives everything that we do for the WordPress site. But I think we got a better deal with eye contact from a monthly perspective versus constant contact. So I think it takes a little bit of research to figure out what you're going to get from each of those providers, whether constant contact is going to fill your needs or WordPress is going to fill your needs more. From my knowledge and my understanding, WordPress is more of like a hosting agent for us, with the website, and it drives our marketing via Google Analytics, and the ability that we can have videos on our web page and do all those things, and WordPress allows us to do those things. I'm not as familiar with constant contact. We used to use it as an email provider for our email marketing, but then we switched to eye contact.
Okay, thank you. We have somebody here from Calgary where she says most private schools spend money on print advertising. If we were to pull out of print advertising and spend more on online advertising, as you suggest, do you think that would be a wise move in our case?
I would say yes, because I think you have to look and start, figuring out how your parents are finding you. And when people come for our open houses, we have a little line on that. When they come in, we have parents stationed at a table to capture their information, and we have a little line there of like, how did you find us? And 9 times out of 10, people are finding us through online searches or word of mouth. So there'll be a family friend of a friend, and then they'll come in, I've heard really great things about you, or they'll do a search for us and find us online. And I think what we were finding out was, hardly, there might be a few of those key publications, like the back-to-school publication that happens every year, or like a spring publication, or the winter one that all coincides with an open house. So there's like those anchor print texts that we have to do, that we still do because all the schools are doing them. But it's a lot of the little stuff in between from an advertising perspective. It's, people are finding us online. So I think you might want to start surveying, your current parents who are coming in, like saying, hey, how did you find us? Did you find us through an online search, or was it word of mouth? And if you're seeing that they're all finding you through online searches, then that would be a good indication from my perspective to say, okay, let's start scaling back on the print advertising and spending more money on AdWords to help people find us even more. Because I think one of the things that you saw in our case was, the school had been doing print advertising forever, and it wasn't driving people to the school. It was people weren't finding the school because either the Quest Montessori ad was being trumped by the big schools ads that had a lot more money and could run it a lot more. Where when you kind of get online, it's fair, everybody's equal in a great way, and you can use some of these tools like AdWords to kind of bump yourself up on people's searches for the same kind of amount of money that you'd be using on a print ad, and hoping that your ad's going to catch the eye of somebody when they're also looking at 5 or 6 other back-to-school ads for open houses. So I would say, survey your current parent population who are there, ask them how they found your school, and if they're finding your school through online searches, that would be a clear indication that you would probably want to start scaling back on the print ads, and then putting more money into the online searches.
Thank you, Michael. What is your experience with TV and radio advertising?
We don't do any TV ads. We have, this past year, we have a local radio station that we do some radio advertising in, and it's been pretty good for us. Again, it's hard to say. I think the nice thing about radio ads, it just gets in somebody's head, and particularly if it's a local radio station that's really concentrated. So, for example, in our area, we're in Narragansett, Rhode Island, and Narragansett is surrounded by Newport, Rhode Island, Wakefield, Rhode Island, North Kingstown, South Kingstown. So, the radio station that we advertise with is a popular FM station that just deals with those towns. We don't go up to the Providence market. We don't go, and those radio ads are really expensive. So this is a local radio station that's really affordable. So we've used it, but again, though, it's hard to say, though, because there's no analytics tied to it. They can't give me any sense of like how many people are actually listening to the ad when you hear it. So you're taking a little bit of a leap of faith. And that's the problem. Once you start getting into analytics and looking at analytics, and you can see your budgeted money working for you, it's really hard to let go of some of those things because you want the same kind of perks with all the other advertising. And I've had that question with the owner of the radio station. I'm like, hey, is there any way that we can track some of these ads? And he's like, yeah, no, not really. I can tell you what our listenership is, but it's just, you take a little bit of a leap of faith. We haven't used TV ads just because it's not in our market, it's not in our budget, to tell you the truth. We checked out one time using, looking into like the ad on a movie screen before, like, in the summer before the movie, the big premiere movie, and it was just way too expensive. And again, it's kind of bang for your buck. When you're a small school like we are, and our budget is $13,000 a year, it's kind of where are you going to get the best bang for your buck when it's all said and done? And for us, it's been with online advertising because we know it's working for us because it's been so measurable.
Okay, thank you. The next question deals with the website, and this person would like to know if the website should be targeted towards only prospective families or both current and prospective.
I think for everybody, and I think if you have a really good web designer, they'll be able to create a website that works for everybody. And for us, when we created our new website, I think so much of it now is you want a website that's interactive and a website where people can come have almost like a virtual tour of your school without even stepping foot in the school. So for us, when you go to our website, and I don't know, Karen, am I still do I still have the screen?
Yeah,
Or,
we can see your screen.
hold on, I just want to when you go to our website, this is we're starting a new building. This is what our new building looks like. But here, these latest videos, people, I can tell people, hey, go check out our website. We have some great website videos on there about what it's like a day in life in of our school. There's some great stuff on here about Montessori education. To be able to drive, one, to have current parents be able to, you should go check out my kid's website if you want to find out more about the school. Like, they can tell prospective parents to go see the website of their friends because there's a lot of great information on it. But even our current parents, we really use the website. We have a great calendar that's on the home page where our current families are constantly going to down here's our calendar, where we post all our regular events. So I think in creating a website, it can have a dual purpose. Obviously it's for prospective parents who are trying to find you, but it's a great tool for your current families to get information about what's happening on the school on a daily basis. A lot of our families, though, will go to Facebook to find out what's happening in the class because they know teachers are posting things on Facebook. But I do think when you're designing a website, you have to have kind of both audiences in mind. But ultimately, I think you're designing for those people who want to learn more about your school and want to learn more about what it's like to be at your school as a prospective family. And then for us, our current families have helped drive prospective families to our website because they say, hey, go check. Quest has a great website. It has a lot of really good information on there. You should go check it out. But I think for the current families, they spend more time on Facebook and on the teachers' blogs because that's really kind of the day-to-day stuff that's happening that they want to know.
Okay, thank you. I had a question about intranets, if you have one, and how you feel about them.
What was it again?
Intranet.
We don't use intranet. So I don't really have a big opinion. I don't have any. I can't really speak articulately about it, but at Quest we don't use the intranet. So sorry about that.
No problem. Okay, we've come to the end of our questions for today. I want to thank our audience for tuning in, and a special thank you to Michael for providing us with this insightful webinar. Just a reminder, a recording of this presentation and Michael's slides will be made available on the webinar page in the professional development section on admission.org. Thanks again, and have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Karen.